Call to order the October 2015 session of the Media Borough Council. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all who are present, whether you're in the audience or at home watching this on TV. Thank you for participating in your local government. A reminder that we do have an election coming up the first Tuesday of November, November 3, and you'll have the opportunity to vote for a number of local elected officials. So increase your participation in local government coming out and vote. All right, so we have a few housekeeping matters to take care of before we get into the substance of tonight's meeting. We have two sets of meeting minutes. One is for our workshop meeting of September 3, 2015. Do I hear a motion to approve those minutes as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the September 3, 2015 workshop meeting minutes as submitted, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes. Then the second set of meeting minutes concern our council meeting of September 17, 2015. Do I hear a motion to approve those meeting minutes as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on those meeting minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving those meeting minutes as submitted, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes. All right. So we now have public comment and privilege of the floor. If anyone here present wishes to come before council and ask any questions or address our attention to an issue, please do so. Come to the microphone. Please state your name and tell us where you live.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Borough. I live at 506 Park Sedge Lane, and I'm with Friends of Glen Providence Park. And this summer we had our fourth summer of concerts in Glen Providence Park. And we had 1920s jazz, soul, fusion, classical, and new this year we had a youth rock concert, which was quite something. You got to catch it next year. And these were all free with the generous support of the Media Recreation Board, Media Rotary Foundation, and some local businesses, Seven Stones Cafe, Diego's Cantina, Shri Punjab, and Desert Rose. So we're really grateful to them. And we also wanted to thank again, because it was a big project, Delaware County Parks and Recreation resurfaced the historical stage, which was built in the 1930s by the WPA, but they resurfaced it for the 80th anniversary of the park. And at our July concert, we celebrated the 80th anniversary. We had a big celebration because July 24th, 1935 was when George T. and Eleanor Reed Butler donated, they signed the deed donating the land to Delaware County for the park. And I wanted to thank the mayor because we invited him and he came and he presented proclamations to the grandchildren of the Butlers were actually at this celebration. So Clifford Butler Lewis and Eleanor Reed Lewis were there. And I know that those proclamations were, they were really touched by those and we're just really thankful to you for attending. So thank you. And we're going to be continuing with our 80th anniversary celebrations of the park. On Halloween itself, which is a Saturday this year, we'll celebrate the 80th birthday of the park, because the first park guard started work on the park on October 31st, 1935. So Halloween is its birthday, which is kind of fun because it has some spooky folklore from the past. There's a 1700s ghost story and an 1800s witch story which take place in the park, which were documented by Dr. Anna Brumel back in the early 1900s. So Hedgerow Theater will perform for a pre-trick-or-treating event on Halloween itself. At 5:30 we'll have spooky songs, Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven, and Witch Play for Kids. At 6, we'll have birthday cake. And at 6:15, Hedgerow will perform the ghost story and the witch story at the historical stage. And it'll be getting dark by then, so it should be fun. And people can go off to go trick-or-treating whenever, whatever it fits with their timing. This is all at the historical stage by the main entrance. And it is free thanks to the generous sponsorship of Sterling Pig Brewery. So one of the newest restaurants in town. This year we had our 4th planting day. On National Public Lands Day in September, we planted by the Kirk Lane entrance to the park over 55 native trees, shrubs, and perennials, and that was both to improve wildlife habitat and beautify the park. And it also helps with some stormwater issues. All of our monthly events are free and open to the community. Upcoming, we also have a tree walk for kids in November, Christmas bird count in December, and finally, I just have to add that our park bird list is up to 118 species. Because of fall migration, we were able to add 2 additions, the Nashville and Blackburnian warblers. So you can find more information on all of this on our website. Our website is glenprovidencepark.org, and on Facebook, look for Friends of Glen Providence Park. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Kudos to the person who located it. Nashville Barbo. All Barbos are really a devil to pick out.
Yes,
So,
they are.
Terry Rumsey, 342 West 4th Street here in the Borough. According to some emails that I secured through a right-to-know request that Jeff Smith's always so prompt and good about responding to, there was going to be a meeting yesterday, I believe, between the DEP, Department of Environmental Protection, Pennsylvania, Media Borough, Delaware County, and Brumels Lake Country Club to discuss the emergency action plan for Brumels Dam, and also the fact that the DEP had the intent of removing the dam. And I'm just wondering if we could get a report on what happened at that meeting.
You anticipated part of my report, but I don't mind taking things out of turn. We actually helped, we were involved in two what I will call executive sessions, or what potentially were executive sessions. The first was October 7th, and that was held with our special counsel with all things involving the 3rd Street Dam. That was to discuss the emergency action plan in light of the Department of Environmental Protection's information to us that it was interested in all of the parties, that is the borough, the county, as well as the swim club, entering into a consent order agreement. And so we did discuss that with our solicitor on October 7th. We also met yesterday, October 14th, with representatives of the DEP, with representatives of the county, as well as with the club. Our lawyer was there, and there was a continued discussion about the EAP. There still are some, there's still some wordsmithing that needs to be done with regard to responsibilities under the EAP. So that's not quite there yet, not to the point yet where we can properly discuss it. We can, however, talk about some of the things that were announced by the DEP during the meeting. They did announce that it is their intention to do what they call a partial breach of the dam. They anticipate that this will be done sometime before June 1st of 2016. So anytime from the present until June 1st, that can be done. They need to engineer what needs to be done, so it will take some time, I imagine, before they get to the point where they feel ready to continue. Once they do that, it'll take about 2 months or thereabouts for them to accomplish that partial breach. Their intention is to drain the lake because there is concern about the structural integrity of the dam. And that will, those efforts will be part of the overall efforts to reestablish a dam and a roadway in compliance with a court order. So during the period of time while there is a partial breach in effect, there will not be any type of foot traffic across the existing dam. It will be fenced off. The park will remain open to users. There might be some restrictions on the north end of the park, the entrance and exit there, but the southern entrance of the park should not be affected. So that is the information that was announced to us by the DEP yesterday.
Can you report on whether any one of the three parties is willing to sign as owner on the emergency action plan?
There was some discussion about that. The terms of that have not yet been worked out.
Okay.
So that's a bit premature. Once they are worked out, then I think that we can. But at the present time, no one is set ink to paper.
Okay. I would just like the public to be aware that if no one does sign the emergency action plan as the owner, that there cannot be a permit secured and that the plan for replacing the dam can't go forward. So just something that I think is important for the public to know.
We are in all these matters currently guided by the DEP. So
Okay. Thank you, Brian.
you're welcome. Thank you, Terry. Does anyone else wish to come before council at this time? Please identify yourself by name and where you live. Mr. Kavanaugh.
Paul Cavanaugh, 24 West 5th Street, Media. To use your word, Brian, I'll stick with wordsmithing, but I wanted to come on behalf of Broomall's and thank the council and the county for, once the wordsmithing is finished, agreeing to go forward and signing the necessary documents to continue the project to reestablish 3rd Street and replace the dam. We thought it was a very productive meeting and we appreciated everybody's contributions.
I think that we all agreed that it appears that some progress was made, but
Hopefully next month we can come back and expand upon that.
I agree with you.
Thank you.
Paul. Does anyone else wish to address council at this time? Seeing no further takers, we'll then move to the engineer's report. Our engineer, Bob Johnson, is ready and prepared.
Thank you and good evening. I'll give a summary for work performed in September of 2015. We completed the 2015 road resurfacing contract paperwork, more especially with PennDOT to have everything done. We provided pedestrian memos for Baltimore Avenue, West State Street, and Brook Street, and for cars stopping on Baltimore Avenue across the stop bar and turning against pedestrians. Excuse me. We reviewed the plans for the aqua water main replacement, more in particular for Olive Street, even though they are still doing it on Orange. We did review and return a review letter for West End Flats, which is the first final preliminary plan submission, and we assisted the borough on Jefferson Street sidewalks for payment release and submittals. That's my summary.
Excellent.
Any questions? Sorry.
That's all right. No questions for the engineer. We'll then move on to the solicitor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Nothing at this time.
Are there any questions for Mr. Scott, our solicitor? Hearing none, we'll move along to the mayor.
Yes. Let's see. During the month of September, the police department handled 761 complaints. The police department recently participated in the media branch NAACP Youth Summit. There were a variety of workshops presented, and the police department held 3 breakout sessions during the day, which addressed youth interactions with law enforcement, and you all have photos attached from the day. It was the chief, Officer Gavin, Sarah Dixon was there, I was there for a little bit, and I thought it was a great day. I thought the youngsters learned a lot. I don't know if you care to comment, but
yes, the young people were really into the visit from the and the information from the police, and to the point that they were asking lots of questions and gathered around them. So it was a good day and it was a good event.
thanks, sir. On October 3rd, the police department was honored by the Pennsylvania Veterans Museum and the Media Theater prior to the performance of Gypsy. The officers and their significant others had an extremely enjoyable evening, and there's an article attached on the same. And usually the Veterans Museum honors a veteran every beginning of every run of the show. And this year, Ed Buffman, who was one of the founders, decided that they wanted to honor the police separately. And we have several veterans that are on the police department, in the police department, so that's what they did. Next item, on Sunday, September 20th, Officer Eric Gavin was flagged down while on patrol by a Julie Costello, whose 7-year-old son Anthony collected $32 during the media garage sale from others. Mrs. Costello explained that Anthony wanted to collect money for a worthy cause. Last year, Anthony donated to a Greyhound rescue group, and this year he chose the Media Police Association, and more photos are attached for those that would like to see them. 2 other items. County, Borough, and SEPTA have had partnerships over the years in a lot of ways, and we're continuing on that partnership for the garage to the next level, not level, the garage, but
Phase.
we're next phase. So we're moving toward a garage at the Orange and Baltimore Pike, hopefully in about a year and a half, or maybe less, possibly. Last item, I believe. Yeah, the Veterans Day Parade will be between now and the next meeting that we have. So we're having our usual Veterans Day Parade on November 11th. 10 years ago, we honored the Tuskegee Airmen, and they're coming back again this year. There's 5 that are in the Philadelphia area, and they plan on being there. And Bob Diamond and I have been doing this parade for almost 20 years. For whatever reason, we also decided that we were going to partake in the Philadelphia first ever Veterans Parade, which will be on Sunday, November 8th. There is no Eagles game that day. It's televised by 6 ABC. But we decided to bring with us a lot of elements from the media parade. I just learned this today, that Pencrest, Media Elementary, and Springton Lake are going to do the usual flag opening that they do every Veterans Day, where we sing the national anthem, the flag's open, the Media Elementary School kids move underneath the flag to hold it up. It's a 30 by 60 flag. And we usually sing God Bless America and the national anthem. So we're going to do that at the outset of the parade. That'll be on 6 ABC at 12:30 on November 8th. And at 1 o'clock, you do not have to switch over to a football game. The Eagles don't play till 8 o'clock that night against Dallas. So, not that it was planned that way,
But it was planned that way.
well, from my standpoint, it was planned that way. Maybe you think I inched that along, but so that's preview of our Veterans Day Parade, and we're going to practice it on November 8th in Philadelphia, so we have it right on November 11th. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Are there any questions of the mayor? Hearing none. Just as I think there's a decent segue that I missed with Stephanie Gavorio, who was talking about Glen Providence Park. This coming week, October 20, and I don't recall the time, Mr. Smith, Tuesday, October 20, there is a dedication of Hooten Park, 3 p.m. 3 p.m. 3 p.m. Anybody who has not gone there, please visit. It looks wonderful by comparison to how it looked going back 5+ years ago. It's a tremendous difference. It's a great opportunity to welcome the new park. So if you have a chance, come on down and join the fun. All right, so we'll move to council committee reports. We have Recreation and Board of Health. We have Councilman Kevin Boyer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a few announcements tonight. The Board of Health was scheduled to meet last Tuesday, but did not due to scheduling conflicts, and as of now, there's no immediate plans to reschedule the meeting. So they did not meet. As far as Rec is concerned, Rec is currently working with the Youth Center to hire a director for this year's summer camp. So the search is underway, so stay tuned for developments with that. Big event, the annual Halloween extravaganza by the Rec Commission will be October 24th, Saturday, from 11:30 till 1:30. That ends right before the parade at 2 o'clock. This year there will be 2 awards for best costume. The categories are 0 to 5 years and 6 to 10 years. So if you have any kids that are interested in winning an award for best costume, have them come to the party. It's always a great time. There will be discount flower show tickets offered in the future. Once they go on sale, the Rec Board annually offers them at a discount to members of the borough. And then finally, on Tuesdays at 7:30, the cardio tap class is underway at the community center. You can take individual classes at $5 per class. And then again, that is Tuesdays at 7:30 in the community center. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Kevin. Any questions for Mr. Boyer, Councilman Boyer? There we go. We'll move on to our MBA in Historic, Councilwoman Lisa Johnson.
Thank you. I have no report from the MBA or the Historic Society, and unfortunately I need to make a motion to accept the resignation of Jill Hall from the HARB, the Historical Architectural Review Board. She's been a great member of the HARB, but she's moving out of town, and we'll miss her and appreciate her dedication. She's really done a lot for the HARB group. So I make a motion to accept her resignation.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion concerning the resignation of Jill Hall from the Historic Architectural Review Board? Hearing none, of course, we thank her for her service, and we're pleased that she almost filled out her full term, just a couple months short. All right, then I'll call the question. All those in favor of accepting the resignation of Jill Hall from HARB, the Historic Architectural Review Board, her term expires at the end of this year, December 31st. Please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
And that's all I have. Thank you.
So far, so good. And Mr. Smith, I'm sure that you are prepared to review any letters that come in.
Sure.
Letters of interest from persons who wish to serve on the Harbor. All right, we'll move along to properties, public works, public safety, and fire. Councilman Vice President Robinson.
Reference each month, anybody who would be interested in serving the media volunteer fire department, either as a firefighter and or on the administrative side, please stop by the firehouse any day. They're always looking for extra hands. I was not able to obtain the fire report for this month because our chief was on duty at another job as an EMS, so I will provide 2 months next month. With regards to the agenda, first is referencing, I'd like to make a motion to authorize our solicitor to draft and advertise our annual traffic ordinance amendments. Really, this is just a housekeeping matter that throughout the year we look at different areas, we'll make changes to some of our traffic ordinances, but by law we're required to codify them annually. So this is really a housekeeping matter. So with that, I make a motion, we authorize the solicitor to draft and advertise our annual traffic ordinance amendments.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of authorizing our solicitor to do the annual work of drafting and advertising the annual traffic ordinance amendments, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
And second on the agenda is Resolution 2015-19, Public Disaster Assistance Grant Program. This is regarding, and time flies, and I'm going to ask Jeff once again, it was the straight wind issue that was June of this year. I was thinking it was earlier, so June of this year, in which we did have some damage to properties and to some of our trees. We have an opportunity for once to actually apply for and possibly get some grant money from the state. I guess that'll be on hold until such time as they pass a budget. So we could be waiting until some of the oak trees that we just planted are 30 or 40 years old. But with that, I make a motion that we pass the resolution 2015-19 to enter into and obtain grant, to enter into the Public Disaster Assistance Grant Program.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting Resolution 2015-19 with regard to application of Public Disaster Assistance Grant Program with designation of an agent, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
Last on the agenda is a mass gathering permit for Santa's arrival and Festival of Lights, which will be on Friday, November 27th, 2015 at the courthouse. With regards to the permit itself, they are looking for event start time 3 o'clock, breakdown, or event stop time is 7:30, and completion of breakdown by 9 o'clock. This is a community event, so all fees are waived. So I make a motion we pass the mass gathering permit for Santa's arrival on the 27th of November 2015.
Second.
Eager seconding of the motion. You say no to Santa, Philly fanatic, and making music. I don't know how you do that and walk out of here alive. All right. Any questions on the mass gathering permit application?
I hope that maybe what we can do is, as discussed, parlay this into a weekend event. Santa's arrival on Friday. I think the very, very important day for our retailers and media is Saturday, and Small Business Saturday. I don't think we have any Walmarts or Lowe's in our town, so we all have small businesses, and I think it would be great if the Business Authority and the Sunday Parade organization all work together and create a weekend event. So hopefully this can be relayed back to the NBA. Let's make this a nice 3-day fun event.
All right, so in the future, we'll look forward to a massive mass gathering permit application.
That would be great.
Dealing with what we have before us now, unless there are any further questions or comments, all those in favor of approving the mass gathering permit application for Santa's arrival and the Festival of Lights for Friday, November 27th, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
Concludes my report.
If I can add to that, Paul forgot that I forgot to say 911.
I was going to wait till the very end.
Oh, you were?
Giving you an opportunity.
Well, I got it. You see anything, call 911.
All right. Okay, we'll move on to Community Development, Personnel, and Media Arts Council. That is my portion of the agenda. The first item is ordinance number 1119. It's amending our zoning code, adding regulations with regard to construction of curb cuts, driveways, and parking spaces in R1, R2, and R3 residential districts. This came about a little bit less than a year ago, when we had someone who applied for a curb cut in their property, and we discovered that we had a hole in our ordinance. Our ordinance permits curb cuts subject to compliance with regulations elsewhere. There are no regulations elsewhere. So spotting that there was a hole in our ordinance, we are now attempting to put those regulations in place. In brief, and they limit the number of curb cuts that can be made, the location of those curb cuts, and also provide incentives for driveways to feed into garages in the back, as opposed to a driveway that allows people to park on an apron or directly in front of their home. Unless there's, I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance number 1119.
Motion's made. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Is there any discussion regarding the motion?
I have a quick question.
Bob, as you know, Bob, sorry. Bob Scott. We temporarily prohibited new applications for curb cuts. Do we need to undo that?
That had a 6-month term, and I don't recall when it expired.
I think in August.
The whole saying it expired in August.
I think around August time.
I have to check.
Okay, so we don't need to undo that. Thank you.
Motion's made and seconded. Call the motion. All those in favor of adopting ordinance 1119, amending the zoning code by adding regulations regarding installation and construction of curb cut, driveways, parking spaces, and residential properties in our R1, R2, R3. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Second item is resolution 2015-20. This is with regard to the final subdivision land development application of West End Flats. This is a development that has been before council for quite some time now, as well as in front of the planning commission. Tonight is the night where we can make a motion to approve the final land development application. This month was sort of unusual in that the first Thursday landed before the first Tuesday, and as a result, the council met at the workshop session before the planning commission met. So we did not have the benefit of the planning commission's recommendations with regard to this application before we met. So in this case, I'm prepared to call the motion because, and I'll allow Mr. Lynn to kind of jump in here in a moment. What's being sought to be approved tonight is exactly the same as what we've seen before. Planning Commission looked at this and by unanimously recommended that we approve the final land subdivision and land development. Mr. Lynn, if you wouldn't mind briefly putting a little bit of meat on the bones of this project.
Okay. Would you like me up there, Brian, or would you like me back here?
As I understand it, you might have a visual. If
I
that's
also-
the case, then come on up.
As you indicated, I think I can be fairly brief tonight because there's been so much dialogue and interface with council and others that I don't think we have a lot to discuss. But this is actually the culmination, as President Hall indicated, of about 8 months of work starting back in February this year. And between the two sides of the street, there's a development of West End Flats and there's a West End Walk. We've actually had 18 appearances with various borough agencies, be it CDC or the Highway Department or the Planning Commission or Council. So there's been a lot of good public information. I would be remiss if I didn't mention with me tonight I have the two partners who are working together as a collaborative effort on this. I have David Delaporta of Cornerstone Properties and Jason Duckworth of Arcadia Land. Also with me this evening is Adam Power, lead civil engineer. So this is the team's been working for quite a while on this project. This evening I'm only discussing West End Flats, the apartment building, because the other project will be in front of us in another month or so at that level. You're absolutely correct. This is exactly the same project which council viewed about 2 months back. Council made a recommendation for preliminary land development approval. This is in effect just basically some fine tuning of that approval, dotting some i's, crossing some t's. Same project you saw. It's still 162 units. It still has 232 parking spaces. It's still 2.27 acres, so it's exactly the same project. We've had the opportunity, though, working with Mr. Johnston, the engineer record for the borough, and with Tom Kvitt, the land planner for the borough, to fine-tune some elements. We have received review letters from both agencies, from both firms, and we are accepting all terms and conditions listed in those review letters. I believe they're actually probably incorporated into this evening's resolution that goes forward. This is a fully zoning compliant plan. It's one of the first opportunities to change something on the kind of neglected portion of the borough, which is the western part of town, the gateway. And this borough spent 10 months before March of this year working on the gateway ordinance to allow these additional housing opportunities to go forward. So this is really the culmination, close to 2 years of work in the long-term thinking. I don't really have a lot of details besides that. Again, it was an attempt to capture something that's an urban industrial recycling adaptive reuse type image, spinning off from the industrial district of Brook and Painter Streets, taking down what's really a derelict corner of a property and enhancing it with this new image. And I think we spent a lot of time to date discussing, and I can go into lots and lots of details for 2 hours, but I suspect you'd rather at least be sitting down there in the chair.
We love you whether you're standing or sitting, Bob. Well, so I'm prepared to make a motion tonight because it has been reviewed by the Planning Commission and they recommend approval. It has been reviewed by the Delaware County Planning Commission, which also recommends approval. This is the same project that we've been presented before on the preliminary land development and subdivision.
Correct.
The developer has agreed that it will comply with all of the recommendations of the final review letter of our engineer. That they will comply with recommendations of our town planner, Tom Kvitt, in particular with signage flanking Baltimore Avenue, and I believe that there'll be 2 monument signs of some
There will
variety.
indeed be 2 signs, yes, north and south side of Baltimore Avenue.
There are other conditions that have been agreed to that are incorporated into the proposed resolution. I'll just briefly mention some. The developer has agreed to provide recycling containers in an equal number to the external trash containers that are required under our ordinance. The developer has agreed to work with our engineer with regard to the stormwater discharge system. Let's see, I think that's fairly well hit.
I'll just point out that in number 2, paragraph 2, the proposed gateway monuments and streetscape features remain subject to further borough review and approval. And I like to manage expectations. Those
The planters and the
the
bollards.
stone bollards and the planters PennDOT may not approve, so you may not see those, in which case they'll have to come back to some other proposal for the boroughs.
Yeah, we believe they probably will not approve the ones in the island discussion. This is, by the way, becoming a fully signalized intersection at the developer's expense, so this will be a traffic signalized intersection after development for the first time. And there's some major improvements, including pedestrian crossing improvements occurring at the intersection. We like the granite bollards, PennDOT, and we don't always agree on point, but we are still working on some possibilities for amenities.
On that issue, PennDOT will call it too, so we will dance to it as best we can. But those, there's some flexibility built in there, and council will ultimately have a say in what will happen if bollards and planters are not permitted by PennDOT?
That is correct.
Okay.
And I'd like to ask for one minor change to the resolution, which Mr. Johnson pointed out to me in paragraph 5, which deals with stormwater discharge. And I state that it remains subject to review and approval of the borough engineer. He suggested I add and the borough solicitor because there are some title issues in the area in question that are more legal than engineering. So I thought that was a good change to add to that.
Yeah, we're aware of it, we agree with that point.
All right. So I'll make the motion that we approve this resolution. The resolution is numbered 2015 goodness gracious, 20. That makes sense since 2015-19 was up earlier this evening.
I'll second that motion. Motion's been made, second. Is there any discussion with regards to the motion?
I just have one question. I don't recall the person's name, but the man who owns the business behind this property, are they satisfied?
We spent, I personally have spent considerable time in multiple meetings over the last 2 months in working out an acceptable circulation solution, and we all agree we have a solution in place. There are some business housekeeping points in the agreement that are still being worked on, but we all finally came up with something because it's a tri-party agreement between the borough, the adjacent neighbor, and the developer, and we've agreed on the concept of the plan. I believe it 100%. We're working on the business terms of the plan now. Yes, and we understand that's a condition.
And one of that's a carryover
From last month.
condition from the preliminary approval. One of the conditions in that was that the satisfactory easement agreement be entered into, and that is incorporated by reference in this. So,
Thank you.
Still.
It's been good interface, so I'm really pleased with how we worked through it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of adopting Resolution 2015-20, final subdivision land development application for West End Flats 422-438 West Baltimore Avenue with the amendments made this evening by our solicitor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
And I thank you, and I said it last time, and it's 30 seconds, but it's important. Everybody sits there at home and watches the camera and goes, oh, that was easy. But there's been an incredible amount of time by the people at the side table, representatives of the borough, Mr. Smith, Mr. Jeffries not here this evening, zoning and planning and fire, planning commission, all the consultants, the borough council. There's still a lot of input. This wasn't an accident, so I appreciate all the attention to detail. I have a phenomenal client on my hand who really wants to make this something special, and I think we're going to look back in 2 years and go, wow, what an opportunity we had, and we're glad they came to town, so appreciate the help.
It seems easy now because it was hard and was recognized. We recognized it was hard earlier on. So we appreciate all of the efforts that you have made and your clients have made.
Thank you.
And we look forward to seeing this development move forward. Any ideas so that we can kind of manage expectations?
I've got
As to
signage
tomorrow
sheets for
morning?
apartments in the back, and I'm taking rental commitments down. Spring.
Spring of 2016 is the anticipated start date of construction.
Correct, and there'll be about 18-month construction process.
I'd like to
About
thank
18 months.
I'd like to thank you all for really stepping forward with regards to the signalization. I think it's going to make a significant difference to the area, and it's really nice to be able to sit down and work with a group like you all who are willing to be part of the community. And the signalization is being part of the community, and I think all of us on council are very appreciative of that, and it is going to make a major change to this tiny little borough. So I really want to thank you, and looking forward to working with you as you move forward on the project.
Thank you, it's been our pleasure.
And he'll be back in December in anticipation of the other side of the street. We're moving that just slightly to lag because it was a little overwhelming. So I would expect either the last month of this year or the first month of next year, you'll see us again for the counterpoint on the northern side of the street, which is the restoration of the Briggs Tavern and some additional twin and townhouse units, again flanking the gateway. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Lyon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Item number 3 is a liquor license matter. What is being proposed is that a liquor license that is currently held in Media, it is held for what used to be My Three Sons, is now, I forget the name of the establishment, it now sells juices, I believe. The owner of that license is proposing to sell that to another group who wish to move that license to what is now La Bella Gente on State Street, just off of Plum Street. And the thought process here is that the development, or that the beauty shop will be transformed into a place that will pair spirits with cigars. I think the emphasis on cigars over spirits, but the pairing there, as well as some food. Since this license originated from outside the borough, we as a council can place conditions upon that type of a transfer of ownership and transfer of location of the liquor license. In this case, the conditions that we have discussed include that a smoke heater system be put into place, because this use will generate smoke, and that the smoke heater system function in a way that meets the satisfaction of our engineer. That no signage be placed in the windows advertising alcoholic beverages. And as I understand it, the applicants agreed to that. The little bit of a trick here is that with most of our licenses, including this one of the conditions of the license is that there be a 65-35 split as between food and alcoholic beverages. The nature of this business is such that it falls under the Pennsylvania Clean Air Act, and the amount of food that can be sold is capped at 12%. So what this applicant would like for us to do is to amend the license agreement so that the 65 applies to both, or to food, cigars, and non-alcoholic beverages, and the 35 will remain the same. That applies to the alcoholic beverages. Do I have that right? So far, so good. We have several of the business owners here tonight, as well as their attorney. And so we have discussed that among us. And I'm prepared tonight to make the motion that we approve, that we amend the liquor license agreement to conform with those conditions that we have discussed. Oh, and there's one other condition I forgot to mention, that the license would be specific to this business, that it would not carry over if somebody else wished to purchase it. So that 65-35% modification split would not carry over unless we agree to it. So I'm here tonight I'm prepared to make the motion that we move to approve the amendments to this liquor license agreement as I've set forth, including the transfer of the location of the liquor license from its current location to the proposed location, as well as to the holders of the license. So now that I have made a big muddy mess of that, I'm going to let this guy call him.
Do we have the address by any chance, Mr. Smith?
12 West State.
Thank you. There's been a motion, or there's a motion on the table to approve or amend the proposed amendment to our liquor license agreement for 12 West State Street to reflect 65% food, 35% other products. No?
65% food.
Oh, I'm sorry, 65% other, 35% alcohol. I was about to do you guys a big favor.
Depends upon the vote.
Along with all the other suggestions, recommendations of our council president regarding smoke eaters, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So with that, I will make a second on that motion. So the motion's been made and second. Is there any discussion with regards to the motion?
I would point out that this is not bringing a new liquor license into media. This is a license that currently is held in media. So we're not adding to the number of liquor licenses we currently have in the borough.
Okay, I'm confused a little bit. So could you restate and clarify what the motion really is?
All right. The motion is to approve the transfer of the liquor license from my three sons to the new physical property of 12 West State Street. The license will allow for 65% other products, 35% alcohol. It is, the license agreement will only be for this establishment, and if in fact the establishment, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Hall, was to sell the license, it would revert back to our existing ordinance reflecting 65% food, 35% alcohol.
Correct.
All those in favor? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you.
Congratulations. Welcome.
Thank you, ladies. We appreciate you taking the time to see us and all the consideration you've given. I appreciate Council President Hall's presentation. It was beautiful. Thank you very much, everyone.
Have a good evening. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
All right, item number 4 is a motion to authorize our solicitor to draft a sign ordinance amendment. The kernel of the idea behind here is that it's an observation that we have been developing an awful lot of signage along State Street, in particular, potentially in Baltimore Avenue as well, that is fairly bright, maybe a little bit too noticeable, and we're concerned that this might get out of hand. So we'd like to put some limitations upon the types of signage that can be used in those business corridors, State Street and Baltimore Avenue. So what we're asking tonight is to authorize the solicitor to draft such an ordinance so that we can start talking about what the particulars of that ordinance will say. So I move that we authorize our solicitor to draft such an ordinance.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? I'd like to say that I think this is something that we've done on a regular basis over the course of the last 30 years. It seems signage changes, the ability for different kinds of signage comes in. So I think it's a good idea that we have our solicitor start to take a look at it, gain comment from council, gain comment from our CDC and our planning commission. So it's a good idea. We need to do this once in a while. So that's fine. So there's been a motion made and seconded. Is there any further discussion with regards to the motion? All those in favor of authorizing our solicitor to draft a signed ordinance amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Ayes have it.
Mr. Scott?
Could I ask you to revisit one issue on the liquor agreement?
Does it involve a bar?
Yes. The existing agreement, when my three sons, being a rather small footprint, one of the conditions was that there be no physical bar. It was intended to be a restaurant-oriented rather than a shot in the beer sort of place. This is a different concept, a bigger floor plan. They had requested that they also have the ability to have an actual bar where people could sit.
All right. So I'll amend the motion that I made.
I will amend my second. All those in favor of accepting the amendments, please say aye.
Aye.
Yes. Those opposed? You have a question?
I wasn't clear on what the amendment is.
We're allowed to have a bar.
I see.
Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor of accepting the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Congratulations twice in one night. Welcome to the meeting.
Thank you. I'm lucky, thank you.
Run while you have a chance. Last item is concerns a resignation of a longtime maintenance worker here in the borough, Stephen Latch. He's worked with us for 9.5 years, and we thank him for his service, but he has notified the borough that it is time for him to step back, and he has tendered his notice of resignation. So I will move that we accept his resignation as part-time facilities maintenance worker, make that in the form of a motion.
Second.
Motion is made second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor of accepting the resignation of part-time facilities maintenance worker Steve Lash, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it.
All right, those are all my action items for tonight. One announcement. The Arts Council had at the beginning of this month, actually the 10th of this month, It's an annual photography contest. It used to be called the Icons, Media Icons. It's now been renamed to Media Arts Council's Juried Photography exhibit. A little bit more of a mouthful, but I guess it's a bit more descriptive. The awards were made this past weekend. The exhibit will be open to the public beginning tonight, the 15th, through November 7th. So from tonight, October 15th through November 7th, you can go down to the Art Council's gallery at 609B West State Street. It's at the foot of Media, right across the street from Best Produce and right next door to the Sterling Pig. So take a look at their website for their hours. It's mediaartscouncil.org. Stop by, take a look at many photographs, and I think you'll be very impressed by the talent of the artists and photographers in this area. So make a point of heading on down. That concludes my report.
Any other questions for Mr. or President Hall? All right, boss.
Let's move along to Finance, Technology, Library, and the Environmental Advisory Council. Councilman Davidson.
Thank you. First action item tonight is what we do every month, which is the payment of bills for the previous month. And so this month, I'd like to, Finance Committee recommends payment of all bills for the months of September in the following amounts. From the General Fund, $214,638.70. From the Recreation Fund, $4,652.31. No funds from Liquid Fuels Fund. The Capital Fund, $628,211.27 for a grand total of $847,502.28. Make that for a motion.
Motion is made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor of paying the borough's bills for the month of September from the General, Recreation, and Capital Funds, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
My other item of action tonight is to request of council to purchase some software for the borough, some software called Unilogic Facilities Management Software. And I'm asking Borough Council to approve a $17,500 capital budget item for 2015, which I believe is currently budgeted. But in addition to that, there is a $34,680 2016 follow-up budget that will need to be approved in order to complete the final purchase of the software. And then to add to that, there is a $4,680 annual fee for maintenance for the software. Just to describe to residents what the software will do, this will bring the borough into the 21st or even beyond century in terms of our technology. It's a fully integrated municipal management software that offers modules that allow us to basically add and remove functionality depending on what the needs are of the borough staff. In particular, it allows us to manage our property, communication, mapping, all of our documents, administration of zoning, a full reporting module, there's a customer module, permit module, licensing, and zoning and code modules that allow essentially all the different departments of the borough to work together. It'll allow our code enforcement officers to start using digital iPads to go around and do inspections, as well as sort of integrating all these into one unified system. So with that, I would ask that Borough Council approve the 2015 capital budget request with the knowledge knowing that next year we'll need to approve the additional funds to complete the purchase.
Is there a second on the
I'll
motion?
second that.
There is. Any discussion on the motion?
I'd like to thank Ken for spearheading this, because this really will bring the borough where we should be. And it is something that we needed. We did not have anybody that had the expertise between Ken and his leadership with regards to this, and Rachel, our IT person. I'm very excited about this, because I think it's going to be able to help all our departments, from police, highway, code enforcement, all to be on the same page, working off the same information. So I think it's great. Thank you for your work and effort.
All right, any other questions or points of discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of authorizing purchase of the Unilogic Facilities Management Software in the amount specified by Councilman Davidson, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
Lovely. Next up, just a couple announcements. Media's Environmental Advisory Council is participating in a joint paper shredding event with Nether Providence, and that is this weekend, the 17th, in the Acme parking lot. And just for residents, you do need to show an ID in order to get free shredding. This does not include home electronics, CDs, or DVDs, but if you do have any confidential shredding at home, I personally have a huge bin of everything that's got any sort of account number on it, which I shred on occasion, but this is a nice way to take it all at once. And I believe there's a limit of about 4 boxes per resident. So that will be this weekend from, let me just check the time here, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Acme Shopping Lot at the corner of Baltimore and 252. Other announcements, the library will be having their book sale this weekend, Saturday and I think it's the 17th, I'm sorry, it's the 19th, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. each day at 4th and Jackson, right behind this building right here in the Stone Cottage.
That's here, community center.
Oh, it's the community center. Oh, okay.
In the Stone Cottage, both.
That was both. Okay, it's in both places. Well, what do you know? So I would recommend all residents come out and get some exceptional books. The library does depend on the revenue from these book sales for its operating budget annually. And so, as you know, they're doing a huge project right now, and everyone who participates helps them out and helps a good cause. Another new program for the library, they now have museum passes that you can go and borrow for a couple days. There's, I believe, ones for the Philadelphia Museum of Art, as well as the Natural Sciences Museum. Apparently it's a great program. They are constantly rotating. You go and borrow them for a day or two, and a family of 2 with their children can go. So 2 adults and their children can go for free to any of these museums downtown. And it's a great program. I highly recommend it, and I hope people take advantage of it. And then finally, as I'm obliged every month, if I can get my phone out here, there's an application on your iPhone or on your Android or the Google Play Market called Public Stuff. If you download this and enter in media as your local residency, you can actually go around town if you find cracks in the sidewalk, trees that need to be taken down, or any issues of safety or concern to you. You just plug in your name and address on there, or I think you can do things anonymously as well and submit reports to the borough. It's a great way to get in touch with the borough. It's on your phone. You don't have to even make a phone call or even use any paper. And I highly recommend all members of media use the application in order to report issues to the media borough government. And with that, I conclude my report.
Thank you, Ken. Are there any questions for Councilman Davidson? Hearing none, we'll move on to Fair Trade Farmers Market and Shade Tree. Councilwoman Amy Johnson.
Thank you. Nothing to report for Shade Tree. The Media Fair Trade Committee today attended the Philadelphia Council meeting in support of the declaration that Philadelphia is now a fair trade city. So that's exciting. A few announcements for the farmers market. There is a change with the fall evenings getting darker. The new hours for the market are now 3 to 6:30 instead of 7. So that'll continue through the last day of the market, which is November 19th. Just a reminder again that the market does accept both SNAP and credit cards. Gift certificates are now available, so you can purchase gift certificates to give for the upcoming holidays. And also stop by the manager table for raffle tickets for a monthly basket that's given out that's full of market treats. And also outside of street parking, if you can't find a spot on the street, the Media Elementary School lot is open to park after 4 p.m. So that's obviously just during school after school. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Amy. Any questions for Councilwoman Amy Johnson? Glad to hear that Philadelphia has finally caught up with us. It's taken them 9 years to declare themselves a fair trade town or city. I think we did in 2006. All right, we'll move on to Public Relations and Historical Archives. Councilwoman Sarah Dixon.
I have nothing to report.
Making magic. Excellent. Any questions for Councilwoman Dixon?
Just wanted to say one thing, because this is public relations, and I apologize because I just found this out today, that I did reference a while ago that Pennsylvania Municipal League was considering or looking at having their regional meeting, which is several communities in several counties, and they have asked the borough to host it. It will be April 4th of 2016. We'll start working on what to do. It's usually a meeting in which elected and appointed officials attend, get a short training session, and then attend one or two of the local eating establishments for a dinner, and then it's an opportunity for elected and appointed officials in the eastern region to get together, talk about our stories, and it's a very educational and a very, very good evening. With my business, I'm required to attend them on a regular basis, so I think we'll enjoy it. Details to come, but it is April 4th of 2016.
All right. Unless there's further comment from council, we will have our second installment of public comment and privilege of the floor. If there's anyone who wishes to address council at this time, please come forward to the microphone, identify yourself by name and where you live. Going once, twice, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you, good night, and everyone have a happy and safe Halloween.